Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa. I read. Welcome to another video, and in this video I am recommending YA contemporary romances. So I have 7 books to recommend here, so let's just get on to the recommendations. So the first book I'm going to recommend is Along for the Ride by Sarah Dessen. In this one we follow Auden, and she suffers with insomnia, and it kind of started when her parents got divorced, probably a little bit before then when they start fighting and things like that. So she's always struggled with this, and for whatever reason she ends up deciding to visit her father during the summer. He has a summer home in a nice resort summer location near the beach, I think. And normally she lives with her mother, but she decides to move in with her dad because her dad is newly married and has a new baby. And so she just thought this may be a good time to do so. She does find it a struggle living with her mother sometimes because she's a professor and she lives kind of an interesting life. She decides to move in with her father. She gets a job at a clothing store, which is actually her father's new wife's store. So I think she does like accounting work there for her, and so by moving there she kind of gets to know the girls who work at the store as well. She's never made a lot of female connections, so this is her first time doing so, and it's just about her getting to know her father a bit, understanding why her parents ended up divorcing. It's about her kind of making amends with her mother because there's a little bit of a strain there as well, and her developing these new relationships with these girls. And also there is a bit of a love story in here. His name is Eli, this boy, and he struggles with insomnia too, so they kind of get to know each other at night. He, which I thought was really interesting, is really into biking, kind of like maybe tricks or just races. I can't quite remember, but I thought a unique sport to explore. This town is really into biking, and so I really liked that, and this book is just so good. It's more about Aiden and her kind of emotional journey when it comes to her relationships in her life, but I definitely recommend it. The next one is Whatever Life Throws at You by Julie Cross. This is a baseball romance between Annie and Jason. That's his name. Annie ends up moving with her dad because her dad used to be in like Major League Baseball. He used to be a pitcher, but I think it's cancer that makes him have to stop. That kind of ruins his career, unfortunately. It was predicted that he was going to have a really good career, but then cancer kind of threw him off balance. And so Annie and her dad had a very different life, but recently someone scouts him to become a pitching coach. So he agrees, so they move in order for him to work. And he ends up being the pitching coach specifically for the rookie pitcher. He's 19, very young, but extremely talented. And it is the developing relationship between Annie and Jason. There's a lot of chemistry there for sure. The thing I liked about this is Annie is also an athlete. She's a runner. It's a little bit forbidden because he is a player on her dad's team. He's a little older. He's 19 and she's 17. So in my mind, that's not a huge gap at all. You know, she's technically underage. So there is this struggle, this forbiddenness in the relationship, but I really enjoyed this. So if you're looking for a baseball romance, I definitely recommend. The next one, and the only book I actually physically own in this list, is The Only Thing Worse Than Me Is You by Lily Anderson. I absolutely loved this one so much. This is technically a retelling. It's a Shakespeare retelling. Can I remember it? No, but and this one is kind of a hate-to-love romance. We follow Trixie, and she is a huge nerd, specifically comic books, and anything related to comic books, but she's also extremely smart. And her friends, they all go to prep school. They're all extremely smart, which I always enjoy reading about smart kids. I don't know, I'm not that I can relate, but I do like reading about smart kids. But she has this rival. There's always been this rival between her and Ben, and they've always been competing to get like top marks, and they, you know, have extreme banter, but there is this rivalry between them, and they're kind of nemesis. So somehow their friends trick each other into thinking that the other secretly likes the other. It's a hate to love romance. There's a lot of comic references, and not just comic books, but a lot of nerdy references in here that I always enjoy. I love how they're talking about Buffy comics in here, which made me happy. I've only read I think one Buffy comic, but I do want to read more. But I absolutely love this so much. If you like Hate to Love, if you like friend groups, I like the friend group in here a lot as well. And then there's this other storyline where Trixie's best friend gets expelled for cheating, but it's not actually true. So there is this other storyline about figuring out who is behind all that. But if you like a school setting and a Hate to Love romance, definitely recommend. The next book I'm going to recommend is The Heartbreakers by Ali Novak. Ali Novak began on Wattpad, so this is a Wattpad story. But this one we follow Stella. She is a triplet. She has 2 other siblings. And unfortunately her sister, so it's her sister, and her brother, who are all triplets. And unfortunately her sister is sick. I think she has leukemia. But the thing that's really cute about this relationship, obviously they're all super close, but they all try to outgift each other on their birthdays, always try to find the best gifts for each other. And it's a bit of a competition between the 3 of them, which is super cute. So since her sister's sick, her and her brother decide to get an autograph for Kara's favorite band, which is called the Heartbreakers. And the Heartbreakers are kind of like a teen bop band. They're almost like the Jonas Brothers in a way. On the way to get the autographs, Stella bumps into a boy at Starbucks, and there is a moment between them. There's a bit chemistry there, which is super cute. Finally, they line up to get this autograph. I forget where it is, probably a music store. And she realizes the guy from the Starbucks is the lead singer of this band, the Heartbreakers. And by the time they get to near the friend, they cancel the autograph. So they don't get it. And Stella's so mad because, for one thing, she hates this band. She doesn't like their music. She's really into indie music and stuff. And obviously they don't get to have the autograph for her sister. So they storm back to the hotel because they drove a long time to get this autograph. Lo and behold, the band is staying in the same hotel. They bump into each other. Stella storms off and gets mad. Long story short, somehow they convince Stella to go on tour with them because she's a photographer, and the publicist thought it would be a good idea to have her take photographs of the tour and things like that. So she does get to know the band. She does get to know Oliver, that's his name, the lead singer, and it's their relationship, and it's so good. I absolutely love this book so much. I was like addicted to it. So if you like a romance, if you want rock star romance, I guess you can say, definitely recommend. The next book I'm going to recommend is Between the Lines by Jodi Picoult and Samantha Van Leer. So Samantha is Jodi's daughter. Yeah, that's right. So it's a mother and daughter duo writing this book. Jodi Picoult is a famous author, obviously. So in this one, we follow Delia, and she's a bit of a loner. She doesn't have a lot of friends, and the thing that helps her kind of get through that is she reads this one book over and over and over again. It's her favorite book. I think it's kind of like a fairy tale, but it features a prince. His name is also Oliver, funny enough. And somehow they are able to communicate at one point. She realizes that he is someone, and somehow they find a way to communicate each other. So this story is about Delilah. This story is about Delilah trying to free him and actually falling in love with him. And this was a really interesting story. It was a lot of fun, a little bit dramatic at some points, but I definitely recommend if that's something you like the sound of. I just remember having a lot of fun with this one. I think at some point she gets thrown into the book and then he comes out of the book. If you want something a little bit, it is still contemporary, but there is some fantastical themes in here as well. If you like the sound of it, I definitely recommend. The next one is On the Fence by Kasie West. This one we follow Charlotte, and she's raised by her single dad, and she has 3 older brothers. And so since it's a house full of boys and she's the only girl, and not just that, but the youngest, she is really into sports. She's very much tomboy. There's kind of like an honorary brother. His name is Braden. He's the neighbor, and he's always over. Charlotte, though, she kind of explores herself in this book as well. She gets a job at a boutique, like at a clothing store for women, and she explores her feminine side in this one as well. She makes some relationships with some girls. She even starts dating someone who doesn't know this tomboy side of her. And I don't know, this one was really cute. In the meantime, she starts talking to the neighbor about the things that she's going through. And the way they do is they each sit on each side of the fence and they just talk. The story goes from there. I really like this. This is a hard-hitting one as well, and a little bit of a love triangle. So if you like those things, you probably like this one too. And lastly, I'm going to recommend The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot. Now, technically, the first 7 to 8 books are middle grade, but I'm going to recommend this one still because the last few books are more young adult. So you kind of grow up with Mia in this story, but the first few books are still really fun too. I read them and I read them as an adult and I really enjoyed them. So this one we follow Mia Thermopolis. She lives in New York with her mother. Her mother's an artist, and she is a vegetarian. She is into social justice and things like that, and she lives a very kind of eccentric life with her mother, and she finds out that her father is the Prince of Genovia, the crown prince, and so she herself is a princess, and it's her life getting thrown into the limelight. Her still struggling in just normal high school, struggles with her relationship with her friend and having crushes on boys. And the thing about this story that I liked is it's still very different than the movies. So if you've seen the movies and think oh, I shouldn't read these books, I would still recommend it. Her father is actually alive in this one, and her grandmother is very different compared to Julie Andrews. It's not the same story, and by the time all 3 movies come out, the direction of the series goes in a different one. There's a lot of highs and a lot of lows for Mia, but this was so much fun. So I definitely recommend it, especially if you like reading about princesses and princes and celebrities and just teen girls struggling with teen stuff. So I highly recommend. All right, these are all the YA contemporary romances that I have to recommend to you. If you have any recommendations, please leave them down below. I'd love to see what you have to recommend. If you've read any of these books before, please comment down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about them. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. If you have not done so, you can follow me on Goodreads and Instagram. And you know what? I want you to keep reading. Bye.